I died and met Jesus. His message for sinners will leave you speechless. I've had 2 close brushes with death in my younger days. The first one hit me after giving birth to my first son back in 1970. I had severe bleeding and needed blood transfusions. During that ordeal, I felt like I was hovering outside my body, watching everything unfold. It was terrifying, thinking I might not make it. I even had a surreal vision of what seemed like my own funeral. It took me ages to recover from that scare. Fast forward to 1979. After welcoming my 4th son into the world, the bleeding started again. It got so bad that I required more transfusions and surgery to stop it. All seemed okay until my father came to see me in the hospital. Suddenly, I felt a surge of heat and began shaking uncontrollably. Turns out, I was having a severe reaction to the transfusions. I felt death creeping in again, but this time I felt a pang of sadness for not having said goodbye to my loved ones. Then, darkness enveloped me, and I passed away. My first sensation was relief from pain. What a relief indeed. Then, I found myself surrounded by darkness, a vast void pulsing with energy, yet I felt no fear. It held me in a comforting embrace of calmness and serenity. Though I knew I had departed from the world, I remained conscious every step of the way. I was still me, still alive. And then, I found myself bathed in an overwhelming light and love that words fail to capture. I felt an immense sense of joy and tranquility. Someone communicated with me, telling me it wasn't my time to go and that I had to return to my body to fulfill my life's purpose. It was astounding because even though they didn't speak aloud, I grasped every word clearly. They elucidated that where I was, communication happened through love, free from confusion or misinterpretation. On Earth, words often led to misunderstandings. They reminded me of my freedom to choose but wished to show me something first. I marveled as they unveiled their comprehensive knowledge of me. I realized I was part of a grand creation brimming with love. Then, I beheld a breathtaking beach, with my 3 eldest sons sitting there. I glimpsed into their future journeys, the challenges awaiting them, and how my absence would cast a shadow of sorrow and solitude over their lives. But then came the revelation. As a mother, my presence would illuminate their paths with love. Still, I couldn't fathom leaving behind my beloved. So I gestured toward the beach, every grain of sand illustrating how insignificant one grain was in the grand scheme of creation. Plus, they had a father, a remarkable, affectionate father to nurture, guide and cherish them. At that moment, time felt different, like it didn't hold much weight. As mortals, grasping the concept of forever or eternity is like trying to catch smoke. Life might seem lengthy and wearisome, but in the grand scheme, it's but a blink, akin to a single grain of sand on that vast beach. He redirected my gaze to the beach, emphasizing, look at the beach again and each individual grain of sand. See how every grain touches the others. If each grain decided to vanish, there'd be no beach. It hit me instantly on every level. No one could take my place. Nobody truly is replaceable. Everyone has to play their unique part in shaping the beach. Suddenly, I realized I had only witnessed the lives of 3 sons. Where's my youngest? I questioned. Why is he separated from his brothers? He's younger. His upbringing will be different, came the reply. That can't be, I objected. His father won't allow it. His father won't be around for long, I was made to understand. He won't have the same impact on him as he does on your other sons. Then, I glimpsed a future event involving my husband, a fatal accident. I didn't bring this memory back with me, but it lingered in the recesses of my mind. I'd recall it vividly 4 years later, as my husband lay dying. It's as if, when focused on him, he was my sole awareness, but shifting focus, like to the beach, I saw much more. My life flashed before me. A thorough review was underway. When it ended, I hung my head in shame, for he had witnessed it all. I wasn't proud of many of my deeds. In awe, I turned to him, questioning, how can you still love me so wholly after witnessing my sins? You're a child of God, he replied, and God is love. I see you as pure love. To comprehend this, I had to forgive myself and realize my part in divine love. Through atonement, this became possible. It's hard to put into words. All I know is I don't recall what I saw in my life review, only the memory of having one another remains. My attention then shifted to a flower, a magnificent one. It resembled a perfect Gerber daisy, radiating vibrant orange hues. It was alive and it loved me. In wonderment, I turned to him, exclaiming, "This flower loves me. I can feel it." Everything he stated was created in love for you. Then, I saw and felt everything. It was me, and I was it, the universe, ablaze with loving colours, vibrant hues of light and water, every drop alive and loving, no words. It was time to return, but not before one final question. Why me? I inquired. What made me so special to experience this? Nothing, he replied. Love touches everyone equally. Everyone is special. This was just part of your journey. I was almost ready to return, but first I secured a promise that I could return to him soon. I felt his immense joy, his boundless love for me, and his complete understanding of me. Because you see, there's no other option. We all return. He reminded me that the only thing I could bring back was love, the love I shared when I left my body and was told it wasn't my time. From that moment until I agreed to return, the whole experience unfolded at a different level of consciousness.
I died and spoke with God the incredible revelations about the power of prayer. In the summer of 2007, life threw me some real curveballs. First, my relationship suddenly hit the rocks, leaving me reeling. Then my faithful dog of 12 years fell ill and passed away, hitting me hard because she felt like family. Dealing with all these blows at once felt like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Sleep became a distant memory, and I turned to drinking in an attempt to numb the pain. But instead of relief, I ended up with stomach ulcers from all the booze. One fateful evening in January 2008, after a grueling day at work, I hit the gym, hoping to sweat out some of my troubles. But as I pounded away on the treadmill, my chest clenched up with a painful grip. I knew something wasn't right, so I called it quits and headed home. As I made my way to the subway station, my legs and fingers started cramping up like they were staging a rebellion. My heart was doing a marathon in my chest, and it felt like my body was staging a mutiny. I mustered up the strength to ask someone to dial an ambulance. But things took a turn for the worse. It felt like my blood was abandoning ship, rushing straight to my heart. Time seemed to slow down, but my mind was in overdrive, a chaotic mess of thoughts. I desperately tried to move my hand, to do anything to regain control, but it refused to budge. My limbs turned to jelly, and the chill of impending doom crept over me. My heartbeats marched to a discordant rhythm, each one heavier than the last. My brain screamed warnings that my heart was about to throw in the towel. I could almost taste the fear of impending death, a bitter pill to swallow. Thoughts of my family flooded my mind, regrets piled up like bricks. I wanted to reach out to my little brother, to say goodbye, but my mouth betrayed me, frozen shut. I pleaded silently for help, but my voice was lost in the chaos. My eyelids drooped, and I fought against the tide of sleep, knowing it meant surrender. But eventually, even my will gave out. My heart whispered its final goodnight, and my eyelids sealed the deal, plunging me into darkness. In the throes of my encounter with what seemed like a higher power, every detail etched itself into my consciousness with startling clarity. The ascent into the celestial realm felt like a journey beyond the bounds of reality itself, a surreal blend of awe and trepidation. As the voice proclaimed its divine nature, a wave of recognition washed over me, stirring a primal yearning for salvation. In the desperate plea that followed, my innermost thoughts spilled forth in a torrent of emotion, each word weighed down with the gravity of impending mortality. It was as if time stood still, a suspended moment teetering on the precipice of eternity. Then, just as swiftly as it had come, the brush with death relinquished its grip, leaving me gasping for breath in the dim light of reality restored. The hospital room, with its antiseptic scent and sterile surroundings, served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life. Yet, within the confines of those sterile walls, a profound transformation took root. The once familiar contours of my identity seemed to blur and shift, giving way to a newfound sense of clarity and purpose. It was as if I had been reborn, shedding the burdens of the past to embrace a future tinged with hope and redemption. But as the days stretched into weeks and months, the memory of that transformative moment began to fade, eclipsed by the relentless march of time. In the chaos of everyday life, the promise made in the throes of desperation slipped through the cracks of consciousness, buried beneath the weight of mundane concerns. It wasn't until fate dealt another cruel blow, this time in the form of a beloved pet's terminal illness, that the echoes of that fateful encounter came rushing back with renewed urgency. With the life of my furry companion hanging in the balance, I found myself once again grappling with the weight of my unfulfilled vow, a solemn promise made in the shadow of mortality. As the days turned into weeks, I waited with bated breath, clinging to the hope that my faithful companion would defy the odds and emerge triumphant. And in that fleeting moment of uncertainty, I found myself confronted once again with the timeless question of faith and redemption, a question that lingered long after the final outcome had been decided. After 3 whole months, my dog, against all odds, was still wagging its tail and chasing its tail as if nothing had ever been wrong. Come fall that same year, we took the pup to the vet for a minor sniffle, and the vet nearly dropped his stethoscope in shock, exclaiming, "How on earth is this dog still kicking?" But alas, by the end of July 2011, our faithful furry friend finally bid us farewell, nearly making it to the grand old age of 12. Around the summer of 2010, I started poking around, trying to find out who in my neighborhood goes to church. I wanted some recommendations, you know? A buddy of mine at the gym suggested this church over in Kawan. Now, I'd never stepped foot in a church before, so I figured, why not give it a shot? I hopped on the Kawan bus and plonked myself down next to the friendliest looking person I could find. And wouldn't you know it, the guy I sat next to was a pastor. Talk about a twist of fate, right? He handed me this card saying Sun Yat-sen, the big shot in modern China, was a Christian. We got to chatting, and it felt like the universe was playing a prank on me or something. The pastor gave me the lowdown on what to expect at church, trying to ease me into the whole Jesus thing. But deep down, I still had my doubts. After my first visit, I figured I'd fulfilled my promise, but I ended up going a few more times out of sheer curiosity. Eventually, though, I stopped going altogether. Leaving the church left me feeling kind of guilty, so I shot up a quick prayer to God, saying, "Hey, I'm bailing on church, okay? If you're out there, could you maybe send a nice girl my way to invite me back?" It seemed like a long shot, but hey, worth a try, right? About a month later, I'm sitting in this CPR class, and who should saunter up but this sweet-looking girl asking if I'm into church stuff. I was floored. That's when it hit me maybe, just maybe, there's something to this whole God thing after all. I even started wondering if it was him who'd pulled me out of that near-death jam 4 years back. So I tagged along with this girl to church, and as we're sitting there reading the day's rundown, it says something like, "No God, no life." The girl's all wide-eyed, telling me, "God's talking to you, dude." And I'm sitting there gobsmacked, thinking, tell me about it. As the choir starts belting out tunes, I swear I hear this voice in my head saying, "Spread the good word, buddy." At first, I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? But as time goes on, people start opening up to me, pouring out their hearts and souls. It's a wild ride, let me tell you. My mom used to be all about ancestor worship and Buddhism, but she had this crazy experience where she prayed for healing, and bam, pain's gone. Then there was this other time she felt like she was being haunted or something, and one prayer to Jesus later, she's as calm as a cucumber. So, our family decided to hop on the Jesus train, and man, our lives have never been the same since. We're tighter than ever, and it's all thanks to that leap of faith.